Hi, I am Stephen Siff, Associate Professor at Miami University of Ohio. This case study looks at what happened when the federal government attempted to oversee the accuracy of anti-drug propaganda in the 1970s. The source is the monograph, Why Do You Think They Call It Dope? Richard Nixon's National Mass Media Campaign Against Drug Abuse. These are images of anti-drug propaganda in circulation in the 1960s. A New York City high school principal complained in 1969, "There is a lot going on, but a great deal is uncoordinated and not too skillfully done." Even children saw that anti-drug propaganda like this was exaggerated, particularly in regard to marijuana. According to a White House report, young people fast found out that adult warnings about the dire physical and mental consequences of using some drugs were simply not true. They began to doubt all information about drug abuse and subsequently developed their own counter-rationale based on a variety of religious and intellectual motives. An ad man advised the White House that young people were suspect of anything from adult sources that seemed to be practicing double standards of conduct. The National Institute of Mental Health official who approved this campaign explained, "Most people will say that as long as mom pops pills all day and dad drinks himself into oblivion on the weekend, there is no hard line they can take on drugs that is not transparently hypocritical. So when an establishment campaign on drugs seems to go impartially after drug abuse whenever it occurs, even in the parent group, it may win a few more sympathetic ears than when it focuses on the young."
This is 74 Langford Street, home of Mary Clayton. She's a junkie. She'd be shocked if you called her that. She just takes lots of pills. Amphetamines to get going, barbiturates to put her to sleep, without the supervision of a family doctor. Pills which could distort her judgment and could become addictive. Mrs. Clayton's a junkie. And what's scary is she doesn't know it. How about you? Any junkies live in your home?
Unfortunately, factual information was not necessarily persuasive. This ad, sponsored by the National Institute of Mental Health, was confused with pro-drug advertising in focus groups and credited with launching rumors that marijuana legalization was pending. It did not take long before one could find Acapulco Gold brand rolling papers for sale through Rolling Stone magazine, with 100% of profits pledged to marijuana legalization. In 1970, the administration brought in the Advertising Council, a nonprofit group funded by industry to direct anti-drug campaigns across government agencies. Drug and home product companies contributed $50,000 for the first year of the anti-drug campaign. An ad council executive cited those donations to explain why he felt the council should reject ads which shows coffee, aspirin, and other commercially acceptable products as part of a message on hard drugs. For the chief ad agency on the campaign, the ad council chose Compton Advertising, which had long been agency for drug and home products maker Procter & Gamble. Although it was enthusiastically received by the White House, the director of the National Institute of Mental Health described this campaign as almost totally unacceptable and morally unhealthy in internal documents. One reason was because of the unsophisticated way it conflated marijuana with much more dangerous pills and heroin, the drug traditionally known as dope. Other experts objected to what they saw as factual inaccuracies about schizophrenia and the link between LSD and damaged chromosomes.
"Hey, kiddies, gather round. The man with the goodies is here. Here's a little beauty for me to Udy. Just inhale and sniff. It is aeroplane glue. Oh, one whiff, man, and
Isn't it true that sniffing glue can damage your liver and kidneys?
Cool it, kid. Looky. Amphetamines, bennies, dexies, meth.
They say amphetamines can cause something like schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia. In most cases, it does not last. Cool it, kid. Now for the barbs. Neato, nice, easier downers.
Withdrawal from barbiturates can cause
Will you
convulsions.
convulse yourself out of here? Grass. Anything wrong with pot?
They're not sure yet. They just started studying about it.
Worrywart. Dig, everybody. LSD.
Bad trips and a chance of chromosome damage.
How do you know you got
Everything you
chromosomes?
got there can hurt you, can't it?
Sure, kid. Why do you think they call it dope? Hey, where's everybody going?
Officials from the National Institute for Mental Health complained that the diagram of a drug abuser described symptoms that were not applicable to everyone and therefore not scientifically accurate. What teen has not experienced runny nose or body odor? More generally, officials worried that the tone of the ad contributed to the generation gap by fostering unreasonable parental suspicions. According to one official, all the publicity and advertising on drug abuse has created a great anxiety on the part of parents, and they have lost perspective and communication with their children. Children feel they can't speak to parents because parents immediately get excited, upset, and negative. Officials were also bothered by newspaper ads that raised frightening questions and then told readers to write away for a government booklet in order to learn the answers. The billboard, called Crucifixion, showed a heroin needle as the nail in the hand of a person of color. Officials from a handful of government agencies objected that this billboard was not effective enough to warrant offending Black or religious groups. An executive of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference observed, "A poster of this type is not in good taste during these racially troubled times." One government official called it shabby Madison Avenue for offering cheap emotionalism without any real message behind it. Despite the internal objections, the White House approved this billboard, although only on a conditional basis. It would only go up in city neighborhoods with populations that were more than 50% Black. After Crucifixion won an Outdoor Advertising Association award in 1971, the billboard was painted on cheaper format and released for general use. Harsh fear tactics appealed to the ad industry creatives who made the ads, and often to the general public. This ad, by the trendsetting agency Doyle Dane Bernbach, won a 1972 Clio Advertising Award and an award at the Cannes Film Festival. It was a favorite in focus groups where teens said the ad seemed real, and middle-class mothers said they liked the clear demonstration of harmful results of drugs. A TV station in High Point, North Carolina, reported complaints due to people believing the song is detrimental to the Indian nations, but said they would continue to run the spot since we feel that it has more beneficial effects than otherwise. Following a meeting with Native American groups, the Bureau of Narcotics and Dangerous Drugs issued a letter to local broadcasters asking them to stop using the ad, which was also released as a radio jingle. Nevertheless, the ad continued to air for years.
Come on. 10 little Indians up there flying. One stayed up, then there were 9. 9 little Indians feeling great. 1 OD'd, then there were 8.
8 little Indians in goofball heaven. 1 fell out, then there were 7.
7 little Indians getting a fix. Hepatitis got bugged, then there were 6.
6 little Indians pushing high. 1 got busted, then there were 5.
5 little Indians trying to score. 1 got a bad guy, then there were 4.
4 little Indians on LSD. 1 freaked out, then there were 3.
3 little Indians sniffing glue. Took too much,
Then there were 2. 2 little Indians on a run. 1 of them crashed,
Left just 1. 1 little Indian popping red. Popped too many, then she was dead.
Acid, bennies, needles, pills. If one don't get you, the other one will.
One result of centralized federal oversight over anti-drug propaganda in the Nixon administration was that they commissioned social scientists to study if the campaigns actually worked to reduce youth drug use. Perhaps no one will be surprised to hear that they did not. In fact, a series of studies sponsored by federal agencies found that exposure to government ads increased children's interest in using black market drugs. At the urging of the National Education Association, the National Association of Secondary School Principals, and other groups, in 1973, the government quietly pulled the plug on these anti-drug campaigns by instituting a 6-month pause in the production and distribution of drug abuse materials in order to fully evaluate the quality, use, distribution, and effectiveness of existing materials. Speaking at a UNESCO conference in Paris in late 1972, Helen Nolis said the campaign was the victim of conflict between those who wished to bring anti-drug information back in line with reality and others who worried that the new, more credible approach undermined the legal or moral authority of drug prohibition. Aside from stimulating youth interest in black market drugs, officials raised concerns that the campaigns made life harder for drug users by portraying them in such negative light. Peter G. Hammond came to believe that it had been an error to try to use facts to influence young people's thinking. In reaction to the disastrous early 1970s campaigns, he proposed an alternative media strategy that would not rely on factual information. These ads, created in 1974 for the National Institute on Drug Abuse, itself created that year, implement Hammond's strategy for drug education that did not rely on factual information. I wonder what you think of these. Are they factual? Does this kind of advertising seem effective or familiar?